the grays and the whites did not make the deep space crossing. Up at the front, you had the cockpit and the control area up on top. And then in the back, you had the propulsion system.
They observed a very large 100-yard sided red square approach the base from the ocean and hover at low altitude over one of the launch facilities. There were reports of other sightings on base, including some aggressive behaviors. These objects were approaching some of the security guards at rapid speeds before darting off.
The force fields interact with light. When you see, and you can see it on the Tic Tac video, the Navy pilots, when you look at the video, the first question you have to ask yourself is, when you're looking at the edges of the craft, you have to ask yourself, are you looking at just the force fields that are interacting with light that go away when the craft shuts down? Or are you looking at the actual physical metal, ceramic parts of the craft? See? And are you looking at a craft that was designed to exceed the speed of light? Or are you looking at a craft that was just designed for a specialized general kind of purpose here on Earth? Because remember, the scout craft that you see, like for the grays and the whites, did not make the deep space crossing. Only the deep space craft make the deep space crossing.
What are the differences? What's the main
The
distinction?
difference is,
The scout craft, we use RVs to get around.
yeah, see, the deep spacecraft, and I speak from direct observation, they can all be individual, like ships at sea, or they can be general purpose. But one, for example, looks like, well, you see how this house is. One that I personally saw was a little bit longer than this house, a little bit wider than this house, about half again as high as this house, and it was all totally smooth all around, no protrusion or whatever. It had the standard double hull, and then it had another, and the way this house has this room, and then on the side it had another set of rooms. So it had the double hull on the outside, then it had a boundary area where you'd store stuff on both sides, and then it had the living area where you had actual cabins the way you do on ships, and then up at the front you had the cockpit and the control area up on top, and control lights up on top, and then in the back you had the propulsion system, and that was meant to stand out to deep space and head out for stars 100 light years away. Okay, I'm quite certain of that. On the other hand, see a saucer that you might have for your children to take out to the play area, which I also saw. It's not meant to go faster than light. It's just meant to go like from Bishop, California to Roswell, New Mexico in a half hour, and it could do it in 10 minutes, but it's just meant to have a couple of teenagers take charge, put in 3 younger children, say 8 or 10, and go out and play and just go around places here on Earth.
So getting back to how you'd build
See,
the
so
ideal
when you build it,
yeah.
if you build it for deep space, and one has like that where you have like a ball inside and then stuff outside, like a cube or something, you might ask, is that really one craft? Or is it the center ball is the real craft and the outside is something like a car pulling a trailer? See, you have to first ask, who are they and what did they mean to use that craft for? See? Because they don't just come here in a craft. They build them while they're here. Now, the Norwegians with 24 teeth can only repair their craft when they get here. At least in 1965, one of the things they wanted to be able to do was to work with the American government and build craft here. And so whenever you see a craft, whether it's a deep space craft or a scout craft or whatever, you have to ask, what's it meant for? If you really expect to do high speed, like like the scout craft that the Tall White had that were ellipsoidal. One time I personally asked Range 4 Harry if that craft could exceed the speed of light. He was a very nice guy. We were like brothers. He was very adamant. He said it could, but nobody, I'm going to use my words, in their right mind would ever take it that fast. Once you got up to about 1% the speed of light, you were covering distance so fast, in his words, that if anything went wrong, your friends couldn't find you. He didn't think it was made very well. He pointed out that to repair it, you had to sit the craft down somewhere, like in the desert, and go outside and open it up to repair it. But that the real deep spacecraft, you could repair everything from the inside. So the first thing that he thought that a deep spacecraft had to have was, in addition to a double hull and fiber optic windings in between those two hulls to carry subatomic particles that would generate the force fields that you were working with, that you had to have access from the inside of the craft to repair them. You had to be careful they didn't overheat. If they overheated, you had to have the design had to apply. You had to be able to repair that from the inside. If you got in trouble, you had to have emergency beacons that used the force fields that travel faster than light to send for help, because those types of force fields that you're using in the design, like you could see it in the TikTok video. If you're going to control infrared rays that are traveling at the speed of light, you want to use a force field that itself is traveling faster than the speed of light. Otherwise, you can't catch them and control them.
Different parts of the brain have different activities.
Well, you know that.